I want to bring in May Mailman, former Trump White House Associate Counsel and current Vice President at Restoring Integrity and Trust in Elections. Also here, Norm Eisen, senior legal analyst and former House Judiciary Special Counsel, and then President Trump's first impeachment trial. What a night, you two. Nice to see you both here together as well. I want to begin with you here, Norm. First of all, just the reaction about having these particular witnesses potentially testifying in this case. You're not talking about politicians, right? Or perhaps true partisans and pundits who might be wanting to curry favor. You're talking about employees. Does that make a difference to you?
It does. Number one, this was not who Donald Trump expected. So now he's rethinking. We know this woodworker, for example, saw piles of papers. It was so implausible, he thought, well, maybe they're movie props. So to have these people come in, that is literally like having your innermost observers turn on you. That's number one. Number two, Trump is very smart. He understands these are witnesses who will be able to relate to a jury and the jury to them, okay? They're ordinary folks. They're drawn from that same neighborhood. So that's very compelling. And look, he had the documents there. We know that. It's just very damaging. I would also be very upset. Donald Trump is rightly ballistic. It's going to come back to haunt him at trial.
I wonder, May, because, first of all, I mean, I'm nosy. Maybe that's why I was such a good prosecutor. I don't know. I was nosy. I want all the information. But I also think to myself, you know, imagine all that was said, say, in the car with the chauffeur. An expectation of privacy was always supposed to happen. I do wonder if there was any NDAs, for example, whether that would be a factor. Obviously, would not overrule a subpoena. But in terms of what information could actually be gleaned, the chauffeur says that he was one to drive around that Australian billionaire, I think his name was Anthony Pratt, who said that Trump showed him sensitive docs regarding U.S. nuclear submarines. That's very significant if he heard those conversations.
Well, so I do think that you're going to hear a lot about, you know, classified documents hanging from the ceiling, which I think we already had photos to that extent in his bathroom piled up all the way to the shower head. But I think what you're not going to see, or at least I don't think there's a high risk of this, is Trump's mental state. And I think that that is the tough part for this prosecution, which is that under the Espionage Act, Trump has to willfully retain national defense information. But under the Presidential Records Act, he can deem documents personal and keep them. So if he really did think that he deemed them personal and kept them, then it's hard to say, or harder to say, that he willfully retained something that wasn't his. And so that mental state, what did you do? What do you think about these documents? I think that it was powerful that he showed a document and said, this is classified. I really can't declassify it. I can't show you. That's the type of information that I would be looking for, not so much this guy was a disaster with classified documents.
Well, and the witness who is going to kill Trump on intent is his lawyer, Evan Corcoran. You know, your maid, your chauffeur, your woodworker, he installed crown molding in Trump's room. Okay, they're going to overhear stuff. But Trump divulged what he was thinking to his lawyer, and the lawyer was forced to testify. Why? Crime, fraud, exception to privilege. If there is substantial evidence, that's what the court found, the privilege is pierced. That's going to kill him. Then there's that tape made at Bedminster talking about the Iran documents. Trump went on TV and said, no, that was real estate papers. That was proven to be false. Who's there? Susie Wiles, one of his closest confidants. When she goes on the stand to say what Trump did, you'll be able to infer intent. So it's the mix of witnesses that makes this powerful.
Well, whenever this trial might happen, I doubt it's going to happen on the schedule we've already seen. We know how this is going to work. But in any event, suppose this happens, say, after, and I think Trump believes he might be the president of the United States yet again, and he was speaking on Univision about what he would do in terms of perhaps political opponents and retribution and beyond. I mean, what is your reaction to that? I mean, it seems so, when I heard it at first, I thought, oh, and then he's going to say, I'm being facetious in some way or hyperbolic. He wasn't.
Well, this is a guy who also campaigned on lock her up, and then he didn't lock her up. So we have to remember Trump is words. Like, Trump is big words. Trump is lots of words. But Trump his words. He did not drain the swamp. He had his own DHS. Is the one who was working with Twitter to cut off conservative voices.
But he's saying it 3 times now, May, about having the DOJ be essentially his pawn.
And so, but what I think that he's trying to get his message across is that's what the DOJ is doing to him. And would you like it if I did it to you? Would you like that, Chris Christie? Would you like that, Joe Biden? Would you like that, And I think that message, I'm going to do that for whatever reason. When it comes out of Trump's mouth, people hear, you're anti-democratic and you're scary. But what he's meaning to say is that's what's happening to me. What would you think if that happened to you?
I think you're cleaning it up a little bit. I don't know him personally, but the way you have talked about it sounds much nicer and much more diplomatic than what he has consistently said in terms of what he believes that Biden is doing with his own DOJ. He thinks it's his own DOJ. Do you see it the same way May does?
I think we all know.
My question was rhetorical. Do you share the same opinion? What do you think?
We all know. I see it a little differently. This is a president who became steadily more lawless. He staged an attempted coup. We've never seen a non-peaceful transition of power. He used phony electoral certificates to try to get Mike Pence to usurp the powers of Congress. Some of May's former colleagues are involved now in planning. They say the Federalist Society is not conservative enough. They want to have lawyers who'll do the president's bidding. I think he's serious, and you know what else he's serious about, Laura? These trials, federal trials, will be shut down if he is reelected. The first thing he'll do, he has the power, he'll say, DOJ, drop the case. He may even pardon himself. Now, that's unconstitutional, lead to litigation. So we are going to be in a new era of attack on the rule of law, and we heard that from Donald Trump's own mouth tonight.
I'll give you the last word. I cut you off.
No, I still think that when conservatives look at the Department of Justice and they see the teachers union say that school board moms are a problem, and then Merrick Garland turned around and say, we're going to put school board moms on our watch list, it feels like the weaponization of justice. And what do you want to do when you're being weaponized against? It's you want to turn that threat around, not necessarily to use it, but to know you have activated this weapon. It shoots in all directions. And Trump's not a great messenger for that, but that to me is the message.
Well, so is the fact that the president would be the head of the executive branch to enforce the law. And if there is a crime, it ought to be charged. We'll see what happens ultimately in all these cases. Thank you both. Nice talking to you, May Mailman and Norm Eisen, everyone. Well,